AITA for asking my husband to stay away an extra day when he travels. My husband travels for both work and pleasure every 2-3 months for 3-7 days at a time. He gets restless without it, so I have never had a problem with it. The only thing is for the day or so he comes back he is not helpful and wants to lounge about, sleep in and be gruff. We have a 6-year-old who has some special needs and I hate thinking I have extra hands to help or an adult to talk to only to have another child to take care of. After the day he perks back up and things are okay again. After the last time, I asked him to stay away for another day. I told him I'd pay for a hotel or he could crash with a friend. He got really upset and said he likes to crash in his bed and that he was hurt I didn't want him just because he wasn't useful. I told him that it's just really hard to have him around when he's not himself. My mom agrees with me, but my dad said he'd be hurt by the sentiment. Our friends are split with most saying they get it, but I presented it coldly. AITA for not wanting to deal with him when he first gets back. ETA the part that makes it hard is our daughter tries to get in his face and interact with him and he just wants to rest. I have to take her away and calm her down and try and get her happy again. They usually have a tight bond and she's used to getting his attention, so it's just hard on both of us that he wants to laze for a day. I've also suggested he come back on a work day and take the day off so he can relax. He's great when he's himself, but he gets exhausted traveling. Also, for those asking, I think there's a huge difference on the work trips and the personal trips. When work exhausts him I get it. When he's been traveling with his friends I do expect him to come back and chip in or just not make things harder. I think the hard part is really that this is an area we struggle to communicate on. I think in my head the compromise has always been I don't mind if you travel a lot, but when you're here I need you on because single parenting is hard. Like so many on this thread, I think we just need to communicate better. AITA for calling my BF daddy even though he hates it. Hey Reddit, I 24F have found myself in a awkward my boyfriend 28M, and I'm not sure if I'm in the wrong or not. Here's the deal. Also sorry if this is TMI. My boyfriend and I have been together for over a year, and our relationship has been pretty great overall. However, there's this one little thing that keeps coming up. You see, I'm into BDSM, while I'm not into DDLG. I find it hot to call your partner daddy in bed. The first time he dominated me, he told me to call him daddy, which turned me on, so I did. After that I developed a habit of playfully calling him daddy as a term of endearment, which I find cute and fun. I started calling him daddy outside of our bedroom too, not in front of other people of course. The issue is after I called him daddy multiple times he started hating the word and will look at me with disgust. He told me multiple times that he finds it uncomfortable and doesn't want me to call him that. I don't know why he changed so abruptly, or why he started hating it. He told me it's just wrong and weird. Now I want to make it clear that I understand that people have their boundaries and that it's important to respect them. But, to be honest, I just can't seem to help myself. I continue to call him daddy when we're alone, thinking it's all in good fun. But every time I do, he gets visibly annoyed and reminds me that he doesn't like it. It's become a point of tension in our relationship. Yesterday, after I accidentally called him daddy, he lost his cool and said that if I kept doing it, he might reconsider our relationship. This really shook me, and I started to wonder if I'm being the jerk in this situation or is he overreacting? He liked it in the begging, so Reddit. AITA for calling my sister-in-law pathetic during a family dinner. My fiancé, Chris 24M, is the youngest in his family with 2 older siblings, a brother 31M and a sister 29F. I also 24M have one sister who is 9 years younger than me. I don't put much stock into the whole your birth order determines your entire personality thing, but I do think it might enhance traits we already have. I've always naturally been a pretty quiet, even-tempered, nurturing kind of guy. I think I would still be all those things regardless. Having a little sister when I did just amplified them. Meanwhile, Chris was very much the baby of his family. He wasn't spoiled, just taken care of in the same way my sister is. I've known Chris's family since we were 16. I've never personally had any problems with them, but I did witness a few fights between him and his sister over the years. The fights were always about Chris being a golden child and either getting more privileges attention than she did, or getting similar privileges earlier in life. I stayed out of it as this was between the two of them. I didn't see the point in stepping into family dynamics like that, especially since I would have been a minor at the time arguing with a woman in her 20s. This past Thursday night, we left on a weekend trip with his family. We left pretty late Thursday. We had already been driving for a few hours, and Chris gets hot uncomfortable pretty easily, so he wasn't feeling too great. His dad went through a drive-through, and as we were sitting in the parking lot eating, I asked if there was anything I could do to make him more comfortable. He had forgotten to unbuckle his own seatbelt, so I did it for him and just told him to relax and enjoy his food. His sister made some sort of comment about him getting coddled, but I took it as a joke and brushed past it. Fast forward to last night, while we were out at dinner. It was uncharacteristically warm in the little restaurant we chose. Chris had worn a hoodie with nothing underneath while I was wearing a t-shirt, so we went into the bathroom to switch. It wasn't a big deal until, when we sat back down, his sister said, "Looks like you're still getting the golden boy treatment." Huh? I'm usually not a confrontational person, but I was annoyed enough by the multiple comments. I said, "It's a little pathetic that you're almost 30 and you're still rehashing the same argument you had when Chris and I were 16 years old." She ended up going to wait in the car while we finished our meal. It's been tense since then, and while no one has brought it up, I'm not sure if I overstepped. AITA. Edit: the two examples I gave are not regular occurrences. As I said in a comment, to me these are just instances of me being considerate of my acts of service is big for me when it comes to expressing my love. He does the same for me, as we all should be doing for our partners. AITA. for calling my sister's advice dumb. I 38F am a single mom to my daughter 16F. I am lucky enough to have my sister 33F live nearby whenever I do need help. On Friday night, my daughter, who'd been hanging out at her aunt's, came home looking very upset. My daughter, who is technically obese given her height, weighed 5 feet 4 inches, 180 pounds 81 kilograms, told me that she was venting to her aunt about her weight, her big butt and her huge stomach, and asked how she could get healthier. Her aunt says it starts with diet and said that my daughter's liking of fried food and sweets have led to her big butt and big gut. My daughter asked her to just tone it down a bit. Her aunt refused, and told my daughter that because she just eats and eats, it's why she's in this position, and warned her if she continues to let herself go, she'll be 200 pounds by New Year's. My daughter feigned being tired as an excuse to come home. I called my sister and asked why in the hell she would say all of that to my daughter. My sister said she didn't say anything wrong. Then after I asked her why she couldn't have just given some tips and kept on to the next topic, she doubled down on it, saying the tip was the diet. I told my sister that her advice was just uncalled for and just dumb to say to an impressionable teenager. AITA. for excluding my stepdaughter from the spa weekend. My husband 38 meters has 2 children 9F and 11 meters from a previous relationship. We also have 2 kids together, 2 meters and a 3-week-old daughter. My husband and I started our relationship 6 years ago. We moved in pretty quickly. A year after our relationship, his ex moved to Bali to start a business. The kids were supposed to be with us for 6 months and they'd go to Bali to live with their mother. Unfortunately, due to her financial circumstances, the kids could never go to Bali. Initially, the kids had a hard time adjusting to me and being away from their mom. To make them adjust better to the change, my husband did activities with them without me. This really helped my stepson adjust better, but my stepdaughter was still having a hard time. I started to take her with me to get her hair and nails done. After our spa day together, we usually go out to a bakery for lunch. Then we just go shopping, get takeout, and end the day with a movie night. She really enjoyed our time together and she really changed and became more comfortable with me. My husband's ex temporarily came back 2 weeks ago. My stepdaughter had this dark pink nail polish on, and her mother was not happy about it. To keep it short, she not so nicely asked me to stop the spa weekends or else. I told my stepdaughter that we unfortunately can't do our spa weekends anymore, but that I'd still take her to the bakery for lunch, just not doing our hair and nails anymore. She was of course very upset, but she'll probably get over it. My husband is the one who's extremely angry. I tried to talk to him and explain that I was just following their mom's lead. As a parent, he should understand why I'm not doing the spa day with her. AITA. for going back on an offer to treat my girlfriend and her sister to dinner. My 29M girlfriend's 27F sister 29F was passing through the city recently and we had made plans to go out to dinner together. This was the first time I was meeting her and also her first time in the city, so I basically told her she could pick where she wanted to eat and I would treat all of us. However, it wasn't until we were just about to leave that I found out the place she had made a reservation actually averaged almost $1,000 per person. I thought the most expensive places in our area were $100 per person or a couple hundred, but this seemed like way too much to spend on one dinner, so I said no. It was too late already to get another high-end reservation, so we ended up just going to a normal restaurant that GF and I had been to before and still had what I thought was a great dinner, but that definitely made the night a little awkward. After her sister left, my GF started acting really distant, and when I tried to talk to her about it, she accused me of being stingy and embarrassing her, and said her sister had really wanted to go to that restaurant and was really disappointed we didn't get to go. She said paying $1,000 for dinner on my salary was like a normal person paying $100 on a special occasion, which is true. I am lucky to work a tech job where I am paid in the low to mid six figures. However, my family was solid middle class growing up, and to me $3,000 is a lot of money and it seems crazy to spend that much on one meal. even if in theory I could afford it. I have noticed in our relationship that me and GF have very different understandings of money, as her family did not have money growing up, so sometimes she will spend an extra hours and hours of time just to save little money. For example, transferring buses several times to get to the airport instead of just getting a $20 taxi and getting there 2.5 hours faster. But other times she will have a little bit of money and spend it all in one go instead of saving it. I have tried to help her become more financially literate, and she has helped me recognize different ways I have been privileged growing up without realizing it. However, I am wondering if I should have just sucked it up and forked over the $3,000. AITA for ruining our night and making a terrible first impression. Edit: please don't suggest my GF is somehow a gold digger. It was not her who chose the restaurant. She doesn't even let me pay for dinner unless she gets it next time, and is fastidious about keeping a spreadsheet of our expenses, as early in our relationship I would try to pay for more than my share. It was never that important to me that our expenses be exactly 50-50. I think the point of having money is to be able to spend it to make the lives of those you care about easier. AITA for losing it with my fiancé. Over ticking? I have been inspired to write this due to another post that focused on tickling in this sub. I am curious as to what people may think about this situation. My partner loves ticking, but he gets the calming sensation from tickling. I do not. When I'm tickled, I'm in physical pain, but all I can do is laugh. It's agonizing for me and I feel powerless, because he won't stop. I hate my feet being touched, but no matter how often I say no and get uncomfortable, he will still go after them or walk past and tickle them, and it honestly ruins all sense of calm, happy and comfort. It seems so dramatic, but it really has an effect on me. Tickling is like being stabbed for me. If my partner thinks I have attitude, he will kind of jokingly tickle me to death, and I will be shouting and visibly uncomfortable, but will then laugh because for some reason my body makes me laugh. Due to the laughing, he will continue. He will stop on his terms, and I have physical tried to push him but can't. He doesn't understand that tickling can actually hurt and be disliked. He has been tickled his entire life. I lost it the other day and said, "You do this so you don't hit me," because I felt so angry and uncomfortable. This was a really bold statement and I do feel bad for it. I am now coming across as dramatic. In the past, I've cried when tickled and there's been an atmosphere. It's very overstimulating as it hurts. When I say it hurts, he says that it doesn't, and because I'm laughing it makes it harder to communicate that. Am I being an asshole and overreacting if I bring this up for a final time with him and tell him it needs to stop? There have been rare times where I have genuinely laughed my neck area and he snuggled into me and told me and cute, but even then I end up having enough very quickly. To me, it feels like an easy way to have physical control over someone without being hurt. Am I in the wrong to think this? Is this my issue I need to desensitize myself to? I'm looking for advice more than anything. AITA for lying to my Tinder date. I recently went on a date with a girl I met on Tinder, and it went kind of horrible, and I'm feeling like I may have been a bit of an asshole. To start things off, we chatted for a bit, maybe 3-4 days before we scheduled a date at a bar nearby. I had mentioned that I was not looking for anything serious and was looking for FWBs. She said she was cool with that, just no ONSs. We arranged to meet at the train station. We'd ride to the bar and then back to my house. The date itself was fine. We had a drink or two. We were chatting, having fun. Until the kiss. We were outside, safe from the rain. Not many people around, the mood was set. But as soon as we started kissing, she would not let go of me. Physically would not let me pull away. She was simultaneously pulling my neck towards her, while driving her face into mine. It was uncomfortable and a bit painful. I tried to pull away multiple times, but she just would not let me go. I had to move my head out of her reach before I could get her to stop. I wasn't sure what to say, but I did try to guide her, tell her to go slower, softer. It would work for about 30 seconds before she went back to it. Probably should have stopped the date there, but I just tried to ignore it and convince myself that it would get better. As the night went on, it did not. Fast forward to back at my house, the sex part of the date, and it's just truly bad. It was pretty clear to me that she was a virgin. She confirmed this later, and while I don't think there's anything wrong with that, I do think it's an important thing to mention, especially when you are sleeping with a near-perfect stranger. It wasn't just that the actual sex was off, but I could tell she was holding back from communicating. It was clear at times that she was feeling uncomfortable, but would tell me otherwise, and then appear visibly better once I stopped anyway. The whole situation was just really stressful, and I really did not want to end up hurting this girl, so we stopped and went to bed. She seemed to have enjoyed the night and was pretty happy the next morning. The aggressive kissing ensued, but I eventually dropped her off at the train station. By then, I was absolutely sure I did not want to see this girl again. On one hand, I was a bit upset that she didn't tell me that she was a virgin. I would not have slept with her if I'd known. It's just not something I'm comfortable doing. I know I'm not owed that info, but it seems like the kind of thing you should tell your first sex partner. But at the same time, The last thing I wanted was to ruin this experience for her. She seemed like she'd had a good time and I didn't want to take that away from her. So I lied. 2 days after our date, I told her I had run into my ex and we'd reconnected, and that I was sorry but I wouldn't be able to see her anymore. She left me on read and blocked me. It was a dick move. But what could I say? So, Reddit, am I the asshole? AITA for making my daughter quit her job. I 50 meters have a daughter 16F who got a job as a waitress. She has special needs, so it was really nice for her to find a workplace that was very accommodating and flexible. She did this to try and save money up. At first I was proud of her and happy. I thought her uniform was a little short but I didn't say anything. I let her work a few weeks before I went by. Then, I thought I'd pop in as a customer. When I got there I went and sat down. While I was there I saw lots of flirting from middle-aged men to her. I heard a man go as far as to ask something that could be very sexual and was slightly weird for the context, very clearly intentional, but she didn't seem to get it. She never gets that kind of thing. When she left to go get the box of condiments, I straight up said so he could hear she's 16. I was met with the reply I didn't touch her. I was very uneased by this. I ended up going the next day too, and it was more of the same type of thing. I talked to my daughter and she didn't understand what was wrong or notice anything was off. I know some social things go over her head, especially things like this. I decided the workplace isn't safe enough for her to work there. I made her quit. She's so mad at me. Her brother's 18 meters, 20 meters, 26 meters, and took her side, and so are my friends. I still feel like I did the right thing, but no one seems to agree. AITA for refusing to adhere to my sales Christmas gift list. For Christmas, my 30F husband 30 meters and I are hosting my parents, my brother Chris 34 meters, his wife Amy 33F, their 2 sons 6'4", my sister Lucia 27 meters, and her boyfriend Alex 30 meters. The background to all this is that Amy complains about every gift she is given by any of us. Every Christmas she makes faces and snide remarks about the things she's gifted. For example, last year me and my husband gifted Amy and Chris a joint present of an expensive coffee maker, which is the same one we have at home that Chris loved when they visited. Amy's only remark, not even a thank you, was, "Oh well, this isn't really for me, is it?" And then to make a great show of being annoyed that she didn't get a separate gift. A few days ago, Amy included the whole family on a group email with a Christmas list for her and the kids, saying that she would only accept gifts from this list. On her list was expensive perfumes, links to expensive clothing items, and designer handbags. I was livid. My parents were offended as well but didn't want to say anything to Amy, but I wasn't going to hold back in the face of what I felt was grossly entitled behavior. I replied to Amy's email saying I wouldn't be purchasing anything on that list and that if she wanted to shop for a Louis Vuitton wallet I was happy to put her in touch with my saleswoman. I also said that if she didn't like what she received for Christmas she was welcome to just leave it at my house. Chris blew up at me saying Amy was just trying to make everything easier for everyone by giving suggestions. I disagree and told him I think Amy was just trying to find a sneaky way to get a few things she normally can't afford for free, which in my opinion is not in the spirit of Christmas, and I think she's being extremely childish. My parents think I shouldn't have said anything, but Lucia says I absolutely should have because she wasn't going to be spending hundreds on Amy's Christmas list either. Was I the off for not going along with it?